Hello all, and welcome back to the Nothing Notable podcast. What? You guys are hyped. This is a very good movie. We're reviewing Memories of Murder today, a 2003 film directed by Bong Joon-Ho, and it takes place in 1986 Korea. So let's talk about it, boys. Jack or Daniel, who wants to start first?
I'll go, because I got my regular old things I gotta say. I liked it. I thought it was very good. I honestly don't know what to say about it that I haven't already said about Bong movies. I thought it had everything that I enjoyed from all the previous Bong movies we've seen. Great balance of, serious topic with funny moments. Some nice hits in it. Hitting people, always good in a Bong movie.
Oh, yeah.
There was, a couple really solid chasing scenes, which you get in every Bong movie. A couple good scenes where they're eating stuff, just all the classic stuff that I've liked about all these Bong movies so far. Good stuff.
I absolutely love this movie. I mentioned in one of the previous pods, I guess it was the Mother pod, that one of my favorite genres of film is the serial killer genre. And one of my favorite movies is Zodiac. And this is so darn similar to Zodiac. So this is this was ready-made for Daniel to watch and to love. And so that's exactly what happened. I watched it and I loved it. And I loved every single second of this movie. I didn't think there was a poor character choice, a poor story choice, a poor cinematography choice throughout the entire runtime of the movie. And it also helps to illuminate the way that I feel about Mother as well. Because now having seen two movies where there are similar themes. I mean, all of his movies have similar themes, but particularly Mother and Memories of Murder, those two movies, they have a lot in common. And it sort of illuminates some themes that I didn't fully parse out from Mother that come through a little clearer in this one, but now are clear through both of them. But I think that this movie is just so damn good. This is easily one of my favorite movies of the decade. And I'm so happy that, we talked about how we were basically building up this podcast just to get to Memories of Murder because we were so excited to watch it. And I'm so happy that for me, it lived up to my expectations. I trusted Bong. I gave myself over to Bong at the beginning of this series, and I was like, "Here you go. Just take my heart."
Submit to Bong.
Submit to Bong, and it's amazing that he, this is his second film, but basically so far, bookend to bookend, has made his two best movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. I think it's really important to note this is Bong Joon-ho's second film. It isn't the second one of the series. We're building towards Memories of Murder, a huge reason we did this whole podcast series was to get to Memories of Murder, because it is unanimously one or two on everyone's Bong list.
Yeah.
And again, I think I expected a lot from this movie, especially after Mother. I think I loved Mother so much. And it just made my anticipation for this movie a lot more. And I don't want to spoil my overall thoughts on all of Bong's films yet. We'll save that for our rating system at the end of the episode. But this movie made me wanting a little more. And I feel like I do need to watch Memories of Murder a couple more times. And the thing is, I watched it earlier this week and I had the opportunity to watch more, watch it again if I really wanted to. But at the end of the day, I decided to do this whole review just on my first viewing.
I love that.
I love this movie a lot. I like it a lot. It does. I don't absolutely think it's breathtaking. I think, to spoil Parasite, I think Parasite is a perfect film, and we will talk about Parasite next week. But I think Memories of Murder made me wanting more, but that doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie. I think it's a very solid movie. It reminded me of Zodiac a lot, and it came out before Zodiac, which again, makes this even better. But what I've seen up to this point, I think this just made me want a more complex story. And this story was complex in its own right. But I didn't feel it 100% like I did, say, with Mother. And those are my opening thoughts on Memories of Murder. Is there anywhere we want to start? Any questions for me? Because I know this is probably the most controversial I've gotten on this podcast. Not to brag.
You had some pretty controversial comments about that one group of people, but we won't bring that up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you in editing. Don't worry. let me start with this real quick before we actually dive into the movie. Because all that we've been talking about is how excited we were for the movie. And so I saw your review on Letterboxd, 3.5 stars, wonderful, positive 3.5 stars.
Yes. And I liked it.
I went back and I was like, I wonder what Tyler thought of Zodiac. Cause I know Tyler likes Zodiac, but like, what did he give Zodiac? So I went back through your Letterboxd and you also gave Zodiac 3.5 stars. And I'm curious, not so much about those two movies specifically, but like about the genre and how you feel about the genre. Does this kind of genre captivate you, or does it usually leave you wanting more? Or is it specific to these two specific movies?
What's funny is because like Mother is not a detective mystery like Zodiac and Memories of Murder is. But you know, it kind of is. And I think what Mother does really well, I think, is it genuinely shocks you at the end. I feel like and again, maybe that's not the point of cerebral like detective mysteries like this. That like, again, this is all spoilers, but like that you don't find out who the killer is at the end. And like the whole investigation and the journey through like who did it and like not figuring out who it is, like is the fun of it. And I think something that surprised me about Mother is like you did figure out who it was, and it was like actually super surprising, and it broke your heart. And maybe I just wanted more answers, and maybe in Zodiac, and I knew I came into this knowing that I wouldn't get answers, and I came into, because I've analyzed the last shot of this film in like film classes before, like I knew what was coming, like I knew what was coming in Zodiac and in this, because again, we're from the Bay Area, so like we know all about the Zodiac killer and shit like
Obsessed.
that.
My dad was the Zodiac killer.
Yeah,
interesting.
Jack's dad was the Zodiac killer.
That's why he hasn't been around for the last 17 years.
Yes, exactly. But it's weird because like on paper, I think I would love something like that, but like in presentation, I don't think it's something that satisfies me. And the thing is, I still gave these movies really good reviews, and I like them a lot. But again,
so what you're saying is you wanted closure.
In some regard, I think it is important for a movie to have closure. But like, and again, we'll discuss the last shot of this film, and I think it is really good, and like, I think it does add a certain sense of closure, especially once you know like what the meaning behind the shot was. I feel like there should be a purpose in everything you put in every scene in a movie, and there is in this film, but I just didn't get that on my first viewing, and like maybe I just need to watch it more. But that is just my overall thoughts, like watching it one time.
So you're a hoe is what you're trying to say.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, I didn't say any of that. But anyways, like I'm tired of like I'm kind of just tired of like talking about like my mixed feelings about this movie, because I did really appreciate it, and the cinematography is incredible. Like even the coloring in this movie is like it looks like murky and like a field the whole movie.
I like
and
the
like
way
the whole,
that
like,
all of Bong's movies look. Especially like exterior shots and stuff, and like just shots of landscapes and stuff. They all look real. I enjoy looking at them,
and they all look really different. Like you could like if you take a shot from a movie minus all the actors and stuff, you can tell what each shot is from. Like it's like, oh, this is from Mother, this is from Memories of Murder, this is from Parasite. Like obviously like camera work is like better as like his career goes along, just because like cameras get better. But I just, you felt, and especially with the editing in this movie too, it's just like there's a bunch of stuff that makes you feel like the detectives in this movie. And like that's something I really did appreciate. And like it was also like, again, I feel like I'm saying a lot here, but like even like bringing in the detective characters, like they, like in every Bong film, they feel like real people. They feel like they do shitty things sometimes, and you're like, holy shit, like what? He just hit that guy for like no reason. And I appreciate that, and I like that. But again, in this film, I don't think it came fully together. But do you guys get what I'm saying? Like it's
of course. Yeah, no, you don't have to. I mean, you like the movie, so you don't have to defend liking the movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're all good.
If you
you're
don't
all
give
good.
it 4 stars, you're actually gonna get burned.
That's true. I forgot about that. Actually, I take back my previous statement. There goes my lights.
Damn, your lights just turned back on.
That was Bong. He just turned the lights back on. Respect.
Oh God, yeah. I can't wait to watch Parasite.
Well, jumping off of that, just like you just mentioned how like sometimes the characters are like really shitty and doing shitty things. One of those things that I was mentioning, like that came through more clearly for me now, having seen this movie than when I first watched Mother. Both of those movies are like, I remember for Mother, I said that this movie isn't as concerned with like saying something about the world we live in as much as it is like about like less about structures and more about people. But now I take that back. I still think it is more concerned with people, which is great. That's not a bad thing. That's not a criticism, and it wasn't back then. But both of these movies are so questioning of structures, and that's something that's consistent across all of Bong Joon-ho's movies. But I didn't see it in Mother until now, and I see it so clearly in Memories of Murder. The way that the serial killer is allowed to continue to operate and to not be caught is because of the system that's in place. These are terrible policemen. They don't have any like forensics equipment. A tractor runs over a footprint at one point.
I think that first scene is hilarious.
That's a great scene.
When they're at the first crime scene and like the people are falling down the hill to like try to get there. And he like just draws a circle around the footprint instead of like putting up some sort of barrier. Just shows their complete incompetence right from the get-go.
Yeah, and then at some point, Kang-ho, who we will talk about in great depth, but like at some point he says like the difference between like the FBI and like detectives in Korea is like in America they work with their brain because there's so much land, and in Korea they work on their feet because it's like a small country.
Well, what he said is because it's the size of my dick.
He did. And that was awesome. But my point just being that like Bong is making a really interesting serial killer movie that is more concerned with like the detectives than the killer, which is uncommon for most of this sort of genre. But on top of that, he still is really subtly critiquing the structures that were in place at that time. And it is so specific to 1986 South Korea, but it doesn't feel completely buried within it. I mean, like it's specific to it, but it also remains universal, which is one of the things that I've talked about multiple times with Bong. It's just like the further you get into the specifics, the more it ends up becoming universal. All of that is like very clear when you watch the movie. It's never explicitly stated though. It's just made clear through character choices, through story choices, and through really clever writing. And so that's one of the things that I really admired about this movie is like, I got to have my cake and eat it too. We've talked about this many times, but just like I get a great serial killer story, and I also get some exceptional political commentary, which is chef's kiss for me.
And like it is super interesting to see if in 2003, like this discussion on police, you know, it's like,
yeah,
I feel like we talk about this a lot in Fargo, how people discuss how do you discuss police in the age of like Black Lives Matter and like the age of like all of this police brutality happening and stuff. And it's like Bong Joon-ho was like somewhat doing that in 2003, and I'm not saying like he's like the first one to ever do that. Obviously, like in the 60s and stuff, there was a lot of stuff against police during the civil rights era and all that jazz. But like with Bong Joon-ho, he does it in like such a subtle way that like it's like these are your protagonists and they're flawed, but like, you know, you gotta accept them for all their fallacies, even though like those fallacies cause them never to catch the killer. You know what I mean? So it's definitely like an interesting political commentary that Bong has here.
What I love about this is I really like their character arcs, and their character arcs are very small. Well, they're not small, but like they are barely seeable almost. It's more seeable for the city detective who comes into the investigation, and because he literally has a line early on where like documents don't lie, and then at the end of the movie he's like, this document is lying. I don't care. I'm going to shoot this guy in the head.
Gosh, Bong just planting those seeds.
Always planting seeds. Always planting seeds.
Always with the setups and the payoffs.
An excellent farmer, Bong Joon-ho. But I don't know. I really like the Kang-ho character. I liked all of the characters in this movie. I thought the ensemble cast was fantastic, as we all did. But on top of that, I think of that scene when they're interrogating the third suspect, who is played by Park Hae-il, who's in The Host as well. and he's exceptional in this movie as is everyone.
He's so good. Wow.
Yeah. But I think of that scene, and I'm looking at all of the characters in the room, and I paused for a second. I paused it, and I was like, I know who all of these people are. I know exactly how each one of these characters will react in this interrogation room. Like, I know that like the Song Kang-ho's original partner is going to kick him in the face. Like,
yes.
I know.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
That guy can kick.
That guy can kick. There's a lot of great kicks in this movie.
And it really makes it more powerful when he gets like the board with the nail in his leg, and they're going to have to chop off his leg because he's not going to get to kick people anymore.
He's no longer going to be able to kick people.
Yeah.
Planting seeds.
Damn.
I just really want to talk about the ending before we continue talking about anything else. Unless you guys
Sure,
want to.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Ah, go for it, baby.
Because I almost cried when I watched the ending. Not because of like the emotional stakes of like the characters necessarily, but because of like film as like an art form. I'll leave it at that for now. Tyler, you said that you wrote an essay on this, so I'm curious just like what your overall thoughts on the ending were, and then I'll come back to this.
It's interesting that it is a time skip too, because I only watched the scene, and we got some background on it, and I just think it's, first of all, it's like gorgeously done, and like similar to like Parasite, and even Mother, it like lines up perfectly with the opening scene of the film, which is like wonderful and beautiful, and like, again, we're filmmakers ourselves, and it's like that's what you want to do. You want to like open and close with like a similar shot, but it's like completely different than when you open it. I feel like the opening shot is like has so much, and maybe this is like me putting some of my feelings into this too. It's like there's so much curiosity and wonder for this whole murder mystery and stuff, and then at the very end, it's like they're looking at the same spot. Song Kang-ho's looking at the same spot like years later, when I assume he's like not a detective anymore, because it seems like he's like working
Seems like
in
he's selling like
sales and
juicers
stuff
or something now.
which is interesting within itself, and we'll talk about that hopefully when we talk about Song Kang-ho. And he's looking at that like fucking he's looking at the same spot from the beginning, and like I just think it's a beautiful last shot where he looks directly at the camera, and like the whole idea is that like Bong Joon-ho, like Song Kang-ho, like everyone involved is like looking, they're still looking for the killer, and they're looking directly at the killer who's like watching the movie, because like he got away, and he like, and again, like in 2019 they found out who did it, and he was actually like in jail for like since like 1994 and some shit. Like kind of ruins the story, kind of ruins the, like it doesn't ruin the story at all, but like the idea of it is like a beautiful sequence of like just like looking directly at the killer, like slightly mystified, slightly scared, and then the movie just ends. Like that's I just think it's like one of the most beautiful sequences in the movie, and like it is just I think it's one of the best endings of definitely modern cinema. It's just beautifully done, and I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and it's like like you said, they're looking at, you know, the killer who was still out there at the time, but you can also extrapolate off that. I feel like in a grander sense, be like, oh, anyone could be a horrible person if certain things happen, blah 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 blah. But no, I thought it was brilliant ending.
Like, see, the thing is, like, I'll contradict myself with the statement. Like, I love closure, but I also love the ending of this film that is so ambiguous, and so like you can add a lot of meaning to it. Sorry, Daniel, you can go for it.
For me, like one of the most powerful things that you can do is look directly into camera. I do that at like the end of a lot of things that I write. I did it for like my thesis film. I did it for a couple other projects that I've done, and then like I do that for feature scripts that I write, because I think it's just so gosh darn powerful. And in this particular instance, because I mean, what does it mean to like look directly into camera? Like you're breaking the fourth wall, you're looking at the audience, you're asking a question of the audience, you're breaking down film itself, and like you're actually like truly engaging with the audience on like a very real, visceral way. And you can use that however you want. And in this particular instance, to have this fictional character who represents like the everyman of Korea, which is what Bong has talked about, to have him look out into the audience, into like a real crowd of human beings, and to lock eyes with the real killer, and to say, like, I see you. We're having the opportunity to meet now, finally, that is the closure for that character. To look out into the audience like that, like it just, I thought it was a singular use of cinema that I've never seen before, you know, because you'll see characters looking directly into camera. One of the most famous and one of the most memed ones is the 400 blows, where the kid looks directly into camera and it's like zooms in on him.
But like, that's a great ending too.
Fantastic ending. And but this one is like so completely original, and so it transcends the narrative and becomes so much bigger because this is like such a cultural thing for South Korea, and part of the viewership of this movie is also like who you are and where you watched it and where you're from, because like South Korean audiences going into this movie knowing that the killer was never found. I didn't go into this movie expecting anything about the ending. I thought that they were probably going to catch the killer, and then they didn't, and I was like, that's so powerful. But here you are, able to look across through a camera, that's because it's you're literally time traveling, and you're literally traveling through distance and memory and space, and like it defies everything that is real, and like I almost cried because it was just so incredibly beautiful, just what you can do with cinema. And Bong has got me a few times like throughout his movies, but this was one of the bigger ones.
It's like the opposite of Space Jam.
It's the exact opposite of Space Jam.
Yeah, I love movies again.
Hell yeah.
No, but like also I find it important to also mention the small like little girl in this scene.
She was awesome.
Who like she was awesome, first of all. Yeah, great. But she was talking like she like it's insinuated that she did see the killer, which is fun. And Song Kang-ho is asking what he looks like, and she's just like kind of plain, like he looks like anyone. And like that also adds a lot to the ending, because it's like this, like again, like comedy, we talk about comedy all the time, but like the setup is like he looks kind of plain, and then the punchline is Song Kang-ho looks directly at the camera, and it's like could be anyone.
Yeah.
And like that's something that's also very haunting and very good. Also, my roommate and I were watching it, and it was, I want to say it was like the killing at the factory. It was like building up, you know, anticipation and like suspense and like all the beautiful stuff Bong does so well in every one of his movies. And then at the moment where like she's like look like the victim's like looking around for him like near the factory, like our piano starts playing, and like we're the only people here, and like there's a piano like in our living room, and it just starts playing, and we're like, what the fuck? And like my heart sank so much, and because I thought there was just like a ghost playing my fucking piano or something.
Whoa.
At that moment in the movie, watching that, and like it was the most scared I've been in a long time. Turns out it was just my cat who was like on the piano, but like still it was horrifying. And the thing is, like, it didn't need to be the piano. I like was feeling that already, and that just added to it. But the thing is, at that in the last sequence, like that look Song Kang-ho gives to the camera when he turns is haunting. And like, if I could describe this movie as one word, I've been saying it a lot, I think it would be haunting. Like this whole movie is about like that, really is, and like it was contextualized for me when I thought I was getting haunted. But it's like this presence. I mean, like, even though they never find the killer, it's this presence that is like over the entire film. And that is done very well. And I think maybe even better to an extent than Zodiac, which Zodiac is a very great film too. But I think in many ways, like obviously this came first. But yeah, that last sequence is haunting. It's like, just like the idea of like not like he could just be anyone in the crowd is incredible.
I think also, you know, let's stick with haunting, because I think that's a perfect word. And I think that means that like Bong really succeeded, because like this was something that haunted Korea for years and had until 2019, I guess, when Song Kang-ho's character looks at you or looks at the person next to you or whoever you might be with or whatever, there is that feeling of like, I could be in the room with the killer right now. Like, obviously we can't, because this is meant to be like looking out at the Korean audience, because this ended up being one of the biggest grossing movies of the year. So most of Korea came out to see the movie. So like it was very likely. And it turned out to be true that the killer, I believe, did see the movie at some point. I don't know if he saw it then, but like he said that he saw it, and this might be a little disappointing for some people, but he's like, yeah, I just watched it as a movie. I didn't feel anything about it. But still, the fact that could happen, that you could have that interaction, you could make a movie about somebody and they could actually see it. Because what happens is Song Kang-ho looks out into the audience and sees the killer. So what actually happens is Bong Joon-ho catches the killer in that moment. That's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. They were able to lock eyes with the killer through the medium of film. I mean, I can't even put it into words. It's better to just watch the movie because it's like so breathtaking. But like, to be able to have Song Kang-ho's character see him and to have him be seen is unreal. And yeah, that's haunting. It's haunting because this is something that, like, these are unsolved murders. Families were destroyed because of this. And so like that ending just encapsulates that overall tension and haunting feeling that's been boiling over through the entire movie. And it just leaves you like with a chill and a shudder. And if you're a film geek like me, then it also leaves you feeling like you want to cry, but that's a separate thing.
Yeah, no. And I think it's a super interesting shot to discuss, and like just sequence in general. I think that is, out of everything we've watched in Bong so far, that is one of the, if not the most impactful sequence of any of his films. And that's coming from someone who like really liked this film, but didn't like feel over the moon about it. Like
to recontextualize it for like an American audience, like Zodiac doesn't quite fit the same bill because like that's so specific to California and to the Bay Area. But like to have something that like was a universal thing, I'm not going to give a specific example, I guess, but like to have a universal thing that every American can relate to and to nail it, and to have like everybody feel like that story was well told, like that's a level, that's a balancing act that's like impossible. Like we haven't seen that in a long time. Let's talk about Song Kang-ho. I mean, let's do it.
Yeah, let's talk about Song Kang-ho. Yeah.
As I've stated before, my favorite actor, Song Kang-ho, we're all very fond of, we all love. He's already at this point in 2003 like a pretty big star in South Korea, but like this movie was like a whole different thing. And when Bong was talking about why he cast him for this movie specifically, which marks their first collaboration, he said that he had to represent the everyman in Korea. And then also he wanted somebody who had like an animalistic sense of comedy and improv, because when on set, Bong likes to give the actors the opportunity to play a little bit. And so what you end up getting out of this performance is like what you want, and what you end up getting out of some of the great director-actor collaborations is somebody who is like in complete technical control of their set and their movie and has a complete and utter total vision. And then that meets and pairs with an actor who's able to bring something completely new to the table. And so this performance is like an unparalleled performance and so deserving of so many awards. And it's a damn tragedy that the Oscars took until 2019 to start recognizing foreign films in like a meaningful way. Because if we redo the 2003 Oscars, then Song Kang-ho should be nominated.
Yeah, I mean, the funny part is like they still didn't nominate anyone from Parasite, like for acting, which is ridiculous. But I mean, Memories of Murder didn't even get nominated for like best foreign film, which the Oscars don't mean anything, and I think we've slowly realized that over the last like 5 years. But I know it still means something to you, Dan. Okay.
Just as like a thing, I just think like, just like as a legacy piece to put on your mantle, it's nice to say like, it would have been nice, as we've talked about on several podcasts, it would have been nice to say Academy Award winner Chadwick Boseman, but the Oscars fucked it up, and we'll never be able to say that, which is a shame. And it's meaningless.
I just remembered that. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that since that night. Wow.
It's meaningless, but like,
that was rough.
It would be nice. And so like, I'd like to say that about Song Kang-ho also. I'd like to say Academy Award winner Song Kang-ho. And just because, if nothing else, it gets more eyeballs on what is a fantastic movie.
And especially because we've discussed this before, Song Kang-ho isn't going to do any American film unless it's directed by Bong Joon-ho. So, and that's a Korean film still because it's Bong. But yeah, Song Kang-ho is really great in this movie. And I think it really speaks also to his versatility in just like every movie we've seen him in. Like The Host, again, we haven't talked about Parasite, but Snowpiercer, it's like he is so charismatic. He is so good in this movie. And like, and again, you nailed this on the head. It's like he balances like the serious and the funny so well. And again, it's like that's the perfect type of actor. That's like, I mean, that's why he's like definitely in my top 10 actors right now. Because Song Kang-ho is just so versatile, and he can really like do it all. He can like do the slapstick humor, and then he can do something like super serious, like that last secret. Like people don't understand how hard it fucking is to make a face at a camera.
Yes. And
like that last sequence is like it like works so well because like it's Song Kang-ho. He's like chewing up, like, again, he's not chewing the scenery, but he's like doing just like a really good job of like presenting everything without saying like anything. Like all he says in that last one is like, what did he look like? Like, huh? And again, it's not like a big like look where it's like,
for those listening at home. Oh my God,
there's the killer. For those listening at home, my mouth is wide open. My eyes are.
Yeah, show them again on this audience podcast what he didn't do. Yeah. On this audio only podcast.
Yeah, but it's like a very stoically focused look, which is so hard to pull off. And he does it really well, and that's throughout the whole movie. Like, again, you hardly notice you're watching a movie when you watch Song Kang-ho do anything, because he's just so good. And also like it's also refreshing not to see him play like a total slacker. Mm-hmm. Like obviously this character does slack off, but like a little bit, not too much. But like his character in The Host, super slacker. Mm-hmm. He had frosted tips.
Big time.
Super slacker.
Yeah, major tips, major slacker.
That's one of the big giveaways. If someone has frosted tips, they're a major slacker.
Stealing squid
like
legs.
In yeah, exactly. Snowpiercer, big bushy beard, long hair,
lots of drugs.
Lot of drugs.
Slacker.
And then again, we'll talk about Parasite too. But like this was really cool to see him as a detective, and it's like also made me really want to see him as the detective in Mother, because I think he'd do a really good job in that. But like we said before, we worship Bong Joon-Ho, but we also worship his son, Song Kang-ho.
They're a perfect combo.
They are.
For real, yeah.
Everything, I don't know if they can miss. I think if you put those two together, it's going to be pretty damn good, no matter what.
And really, like, think about that too, because think about some American actors. I don't want to name anybody specifically because I don't want to shit on any particular actor, but like think of some
Rob
American.
Riggle.
All right, Rob Riggle. I can't see Rob Riggle I can see him doing some of the funny stuff in this movie, but I can't see him pulling off that last shot. Like really think about like how hard that actually is. There's just some actors that like they can do some of the funny stuff and they can do some of the dramatic stuff, but like when in that final moment when you really have to buy it. Yeah, Tyler's pointing to Adam Driver and that he would be able to pull that off. But we underestimate how hard that is to be able to go, because it's not just Bong navigating the tone, it's not just the actors navigating the tone, but it's like how can we come back from that, like as an audience, when we watch something that's really funny, like Song Kang-ho jumping and kicking his new detective who he thinks is about to assault a woman and then realizes that that's not the case. Like, how do we come back from that? How do we come back from him sitting in the sauna looking at guys junk, trying to find a hairless serial killer in there?
Who doesn't have pubes?
How do we come back from that? Like, we come back from that.
So funny. Wow.
Yeah, we come back from that because like he hangs his hat on like small dramatic choices that bring us back from that world. Like it's all one world, I guess, but like we have to travel some distances and he's able to take us there really quickly.
And it's also that it also speaks to that sequence. I think the sequence balances it perfectly. It's that sequence where Bong's chase sequence in this is like through a field into like a mining colony or something.
Awesome.
And again, you're looking for the red panty underwear. And obviously great sequence all in itself. Song Kang-ho is so hyped after that. Like, also this is why I didn't kind of like him, because like I like knew they wouldn't find the killer in this, and like he was just kind of like so again, this is a good performance, but like it makes me not like the character that much. Like he's so hyped about like getting the killer, and he's so cocky about it, and like he's like Song Kang-ho's character in this movie is like always so cocky when he thinks they find the killer, and that's like also what makes it like really powerful at the end when like he lets the third suspect, like he himself lets the third suspect go, because he's like he's not the killer, like it's not him, and like it's really interesting to see that like dichotomy throughout in his character, and it's just done so well, and it's like done well because it's Song Kang-ho, and he cannot do wrong is what Song cannot do wrong, Bong cannot do wrong.
No, and Jack, you made a great point. It's impossible that they could possibly miss. Let me rephrase that because that sounded so stupid. It's impossible for them to miss. I'm going to keep it in. It's impossible for them to miss because, like, you know, like I was saying, like they complement each other so well. What you want out of an actor is like an equally clear vision for the character. And it might not be the exact same vision. And I'm sure that there were some times when like they clashed on like what the character would be in this movie, and they came to what would be the ultimate correct decision. Because like if it's just the director imposing what the character is on the actor, it's not going to be a great performance. It's not going to be a very good character. If it's the actor taking too much control over the character, then it's also not going to be a very good performance. They have to mend together, and they mend so well because they just have this shorthand that we've talked about before, and they know each other so well, and they know how to get what they want out of the movie from each other. And I think it's just a beautiful friendship.
Is there anything else we want to discuss about Memories of Murder? I know there's a lot to discuss. There's so much.
We already mentioned the scene where like the tractor runs over the footprint. Like just the camera work there is... That's one thing I really love about this movie. And this will sound obvious because like this is what you're supposed to do, but it doesn't always end up happening. Like the camera work so brilliantly matches the energy of the scene and the characters, and like the fact that like this is such an inept police organization, because the camera just like, it's a one shot through that whole thing. It's a tracking shot, and it's just following Song Kang-ho as he is like clearly unable to control the crowd. Like people are falling and slipping as they're trying to get over there, which is really funny. He's trying to go around. He's trying to figure out what's happening. There's a body there. There's a thing up there. There's a tractor. Oh God, I got to go get the tractor. And the camera is like as out of control as the scene is. And I think that that's consistent throughout the entire movie. Is like Bong knows how to capture the energy of the scene and use the cinematography as a tool in order to like make you feel that. And that's one scene in particular that like you really feel that. I think we already talked about also the scene where the killer chases down the woman as she's running towards the factory, the quick cutting, the shots that he gets, and then the one shot of the flashlight sort of catching the killer as he like leaps up towards her, you know, that which ends the sequence. Haunting, horrifying, so scary, and just like it's so quick. It's like there's no other choice.
Yeah.
Like you're watching it and you're like, there is no other choice other than this. Otherwise it's not perfect.
And like you watch other movies and you're like, they could have done this, they could have done that. But like with this movie, it's really like, no, this is the way. This is right. Yeah, this is the way.
Yeah. I quoted that now twice on podcast.
Yeah, on back-to-back pods, you've quoted that.
I got to quote "No Country for Old Men," and then I'll have a real run.
Then you have the two-peat.
Yeah.
But this is all to say, Bong Joon-ho is one of the most remarkable filmmakers of all time. I am very excited to watch Parasite next, and I will rewatch Parasite. I've watched that movie like 5 times since it came out in 2019. I don't rewatch movies that much. And I don't want to spoil it, but like this is all building towards Parasite, in my opinion. After seeing like all his filmography, I think like Parasite is one of the greatest films of all time. But I also think Memories of Murder is really fantastic as well.
Everything about this movie is exceptional. And I understand now why this movie is on so many people's list of like greatest movies of the decade and greatest Korean films. It certainly is up there. Basically, I love this movie, and I knew I was going to like it, but I really am happy to report that I love this movie.
That's wonderful, Dan.
Hell yeah.
Power Rankings
Tyler, lead it off.
Whoa. Okay.
Power move.
Power move for the power rankings. At number 6. At number 6. This is our 6th film. We have Parasite. No, we have we have Okja. After that, I'm going Barking Dogs Never Bite. After that, I have The Host. At number 3, I have Snowpiercer. At number 2, I have Memories of Murder, and at number 1, I still have Mother, which is shocking to me because I really thought Memories of Murder was going to hop up, and it might still, but I do really still like this film. I know at the beginning we were talking about that I did give it 3.5. Like, I definitely am leaning towards giving it a 4, but like the thing is, like, I definitely think this movie and like especially that last sequence like adds so much to the film as a whole, and like everything we've said. I don't think I need to discuss Memories of Murder more because we've talked about it a lot today.
If you want to hear Tyler's full thoughts on Memories of Murder, rewind the video.
That's so funny. Yeah. That's really good.
Thank you. I do have a degree in comedy.
That was really good.
So, I mean, anyways, my power rankings at number 6, I have Okja. I like when the girl says that in the movie.
I've been saying that so much, awesome. Honestly. Like
I say that to my dog all the time.
That's awesome.
At number 5, I have, speaking of dogs,
Parasite.
Barking Dogs Never Bite. At number 4, yes, I do. I have Mother at number 4. At number 3, I have The Host. At number 2, I have Snowpiercer. And at number 1,
there it is.
I have Memories of Murder.
Oh my goodness.
Hell yeah.
Okay. I will.
Oh shit.
I will round this out. No surprise for all of us. Okja is number 6. Still a movie I really like, but it somebody has to be number 6. All right. Somebody's got to go home. Number 5, Barking Dogs Never Bite. Also no surprise there. Really good feature debut. But still pretty rough around the edges. Then after that, I have Snowpiercer, and then I have The Host, and then I have Mother, and then I have Memories of Murder in the top spot. No surprise here. I love Mother. I love Memories of Murder. I think these are a wonderful pairing of movies, and it's interesting because it's interesting to see the difference between those movies, even though they are very similar movies, just over the course of, I guess, 6 years, basically, like how he grows as a filmmaker in that time.
So we have one more Bong Joon-Ho movie to watch. I know Dan and I have seen it a lot of times, probably too many times. But our next film is the 2019 film, the 2020 Best Picture winner, Parasite. Which is an incredible film. It's on Hulu right now. That's where we'll watch it. And we're just gonna do this next week. So like we're gonna have Memories of Murder this week, and then next week we're gonna have Parasite, and then we're gonna wrap up our Bong Joon-Ho series. We'll probably do a long ass podcast on it, talking about just Bong Joon-Ho in general as well. And then I guess after part 7 comes out, which would be Parasite, we're gonna take a break from Bong Joon-Ho for a while until his next movie comes out, and then obviously we'll continue it from there. Can add to the power rankings as we go. But yeah, any last thoughts on Memories of Murder, fellas? Memories of Murder, fellas.
Nope, I said it all already.
Yeah, I think we all did. This has been the Nothing Notable podcast. We've had a lot of fun tonight. I've been Tyler.
I've been Jack.
And I've been Daniel.
And we'll see you next week for Parasite, y'all. See ya.
Respect!
Respect!